Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to finish off deploying our model to an endpoint. First, let's rename this notebook. I'm going to come here and rename, and I'm going to call it deployment. This is going to be the deployment notebook. And there were a few fixes that needs to be done, okay? So an error that I made was this PY version. Previously, I just wrote 3.6, but to make it work, you have to have PY 3.6, and this denotes Python 3.6, okay? Now, make sure you save that. And in your inference.py file, there are also three things that needs to change. So previously, for me, it's in line 45. It might be different for you. But when I instantiate the model, so over here, model equals distilled bird class. So previously, I had it like this, distilled bird class, and it failed. And the reason it failed because BERT needs to be uppercase all the way. As you can see, B-E-R-T is uppercase. And the reason for that is because we defined it as uppercase in our distilled bird class over here, okay? So that's one thing that needs to change. Another thing over here, the double hashtag denotes it. I misspelled probabilities, so make sure you spell probabilities correctly. Over here in the predicted class equals probabilities.argmax. So probabilities needs to be spelled like that. So I'm going to remove this. And also I misspelled over here, return JSON.dumps prediction and accept. I misspelled accept, so make sure you spell accept this way, okay? So now, once you have that, go to File, Save All, go back to your deployment notebook, and rerun this cell as well, the Hugging Face model one, and then run this too, and this will start the deployment. And I gave my endpoint just multi-class text classification endpoint final, okay? And hopefully you're not going to encounter any errors and you're going to be able to deploy the model. And right now, as you can see, the asterisk means over here that the endpoint is being created. So if we come back over here to Sagemaker, Amazon Sagemaker, and you go all the way down here on the left side, and you click on inference and you click on endpoints, you see that I have the multi-class text classification endpoint final, and the status is creating. And if you click into it, you can see, the type, it's a real-time endpoint. And you can see, once we have traffic, you can see the CPU utilization, memory utilization, and all those kinds of things. And also, if you go to settings, you can look at other settings, such as, the model name, the instance type, the initial count, the instance, so how many we deployed it on. Right now, all traffic that goes to this endpoint goes through this endpoint, so we're not doing any A/B testing. And, there's some other things that you can look at. But right now, what should be something that we care about is, let's go back. And as you can see, these dashes, the deployment has started. And it's going to look something like this. And you know that the deployment is done when there's an exclamation at the end, okay? And that's going to take probably a few minutes. But in the meantime, why don't we get some data ready so that we can call our endpoint once it's done? So I'm going to say that data is going to be equal to, and this is how our model expects it, right? That the data, the input is going to be in this inputs, right? If you go to inference.py and you see that the sentence or the headline is going to be in the input data and in the inputs key, okay? So that's why we need to have an inputs. And let's have a sentence such as, what should be our headline? Headline is new major black hole discovered in space. And now I'm going to execute this, but nothing is going to happen. This is just going to, create the data dictionary. And as you can see, this is asynchronous, so it's not going to execute this until the endpoint is ready. And then we can do prediction is going to be equal to predictor.predict, and you call it with the data. And remember, this is the predictor, and it has a .predict method on it, and that .predict method is what calls our inference.py with the appropriate functions. So now I'm going to execute this as well. And as you can see, it's in the queue. So right now, as you can see, it finished deploying because we have the exclamation point here at the end. So if we come back over here and we go to endpoints, you see that it's in service. Awesome. And now we've called the prediction. So now we just have to prediction. And the predicted label is science, as you can see. And here are the probabilities. So this is a low probability. And let's refresh ourselves, okay? So these are the probabilities. I'm just going to copy this and I'm just going to add it here. So business belongs to the 0 category. So as you can see, for the headline, new major black hole discovered in space, it's 0.0015% for business. It's 0.99% for science, which is correct. And as you can see, here's 0.0007 for entertainment. And this is not 3.5. This is 3.5e to the negative 0.5. Okay, so this is a very small number. This is in scientific notation. So this 3.5 shouldn't confuse you. It's not 3.5. It's 0.000035. Okay, so now let's try some other input. And let's say the season finale of The Simpsons is out. So now, as you can see, the predicted label is entertainment. And if we find the probability, it's 0.999 for the entertainment, right? Because this is business, science, entertainment, health. Now, let's try something like cancer vaccine approved with 100% survival. So as you can see, the predicted label is health. And if you look at the probability, it's 0.099999. So it's working extremely well. Now let's find one for business. The stock market hit an all-time low. So as you can see, the predicted label is business, and it's with a 0.995% probability. So that means our model is working extremely well, and it's working as expected. So, we have a model ready. One thing to note is, first of all, I'm going to shut down this server because we don't need it. I'm just going to save all, and I'm going to shut down this server for right now. Okay. And I'm going to hit exit out of it. And one thing though is right now, this endpoint is in service. So that means it's costing you $0.23 per hour. So I would recommend you to come over here and just go to actions and delete it, because we can always restart the endpoint. So it's not a big deal. But the reason we stop it is so that you don't incur any charges. So in the time that this was up, it's $0.23 per hour. So it was up for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes now. It costs you virtually $0. So no need to worry about that. And once we need the endpoint again, we can just log into our Sagemaker notebook and start it. Now I like to refresh this to make sure that the endpoint has been deleted. As you can see, there are no resources. So there are no active endpoints right now. That's awesome. I will see you in the next lesson.